The stars were silent the day the Empire came. They always were, out here on the fringes of the Orion Arm, silent, cold, indifferent. But today, the silence felt different. It pressed against the hull of the ISV Resolute like something alive, like something that knew what was coming. Admiral Ethan Cross stood at the command bridge, arms folded behind his back, watching the long-range sensors fill with red. 1 ship. Then 10. Then 50. Then 300. The comms officer, Lieutenant Yara Chen, turned from her console with wide eyes. Admiral, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. Empire Standard Protocol. They're demanding we clear the lane. Cross didn't blink. Demanding. Yes, sir. He uncrossed his arms slowly and walked to the forward viewport. Through 3 inches of reinforced transparasteel, he could see the Imperial fleet materializing from Quantum Fold, massive wedge-shaped dreadnoughts, each one 10 times the size of anything in the Terran Defense Fleet, flanked by escort frigates that bristled with weapons arrays like porcupines made of pure destruction. It was, by any galactic military standard, an overwhelming force. Cross tilted his head slightly. Send this back on their frequency. Terran Defense Command. Authorization Cross 7. Message reads, you are entering restricted Terran territorial space. Turn back. This is your only warning. Chen hesitated. Sir, they have 300. I know how to count, Lieutenant. She swallowed and sent the message. Aboard the Imperial Throne Carrier Eternal Dominion, Emperor Kael Veyron read the message twice. Then he laughed. It began as a low sound in his chest and rose until it filled the throne room, bouncing off the obsidian walls and gilded columns, drawing nervous smiles from his admirals and attendants who understood that when the Emperor laughed like this, someone somewhere was about to have a very bad day. 1 ship, he said, gesturing at the holographic tactical display where the lone Terran vessel glowed like a candle beside a bonfire. They sent 1 ship. Grand Admiral Voss, a 4-armed Drethian whose battle decorations took up half his uniform, stepped forward. The Terrans are eccentric, Your Magnificence. They have a history of what? Stupidity? Kael leaned back in his throne, amused. They have 8 planets and a defense budget that couldn't buy me a new shuttle. And they're sending warnings. He waved a dismissive hand. Broadcast a response. Tell their admiral, what's his name? Cross, Your Magnificence. Ethan Cross. Tell Admiral Cross that the Empire thanks him for his enthusiasm. And that if he moves his little ship aside within 10 minutes, we'll let his crew live. Voss bowed and turned to relay the order. Kael leaned forward, studying the Terran vessel on the display. It was a carrier-class ship, old design, retrofitted, nothing remarkable. He'd crushed civilizations with more impressive fleets than whatever humanity had managed to scrounge together. The Terran Confederation had been a footnote in Imperial intelligence reports for decades. Pre-contact species. Aggressive but primitive. Not a threat. He watched the countdown. 10 minutes. The Terran ship did not move. On the Resolute, Cross read the Emperor's message without expression. Sir, Chen said carefully, they're serious. Our long-range scanners have confirmed 17 dreadnoughts in the lead formation alone. Each one carries approximately 400 fighters. That's 6,800 fighters, Cross said. Plus the frigates. Plus whatever they've got in reserve beyond sensor range. He nodded once. Good. Chen stared at him. Good. It means they came prepared to fight someone worth fighting. He turned from the viewport. Raise Captain Osei on the Omega channel. The display flickered, and a face appeared, Captain Amara Osei, commanding the ISV Vanguard, currently running silent behind the asteroid field of Proxima Relay Station. Behind her, Cross could see her crew at battle stations, faces tight, hands steady. Ethan, she said. Amara. Status? All 12 of our ships are in position. The relay network is live. We've got telemetry from every sensor buoy from here to the Mars perimeter. She paused. They really sent 300 ships. They did. Command back home wants to know if we're actually doing this. Cross almost smiled. Tell them yes. Osei nodded, and the display went dark. He turned back to the viewport. The Imperial fleet was moving now, slow, deliberate, the kind of movement that said we are not afraid of you. And why would they be? 300 warships against one. By every calculation, by every law of military mathematics across 1,000 species and 10,000 years of galactic warfare, this was not a fight. This was a demonstration. Cross picked up his coffee mug from the armrest of his command chair. It was cold. He drank it anyway. Open a channel to the Emperor, he said. Kale was not accustomed to being hailed by people he was about to destroy. He took the call out of curiosity. The human that appeared on his display was unremarkable by Imperial standards, medium height, gray at the temples, wearing a dark uniform without ornamentation. He looked like someone's grandfather. He looked like a man who fixed things in a garage on weekends. He did not look afraid. Admiral Cross, Kale said pleasantly. I see you're still here. I am, Cross said. I wanted to make sure you received our warning personally. Your warning. Kale let the words sit for a moment. Admiral, I have 300 ships. I know. You have one. I have 13, Cross said. The other 12 are running silent. But that's not really the point. Kale straightened slightly. 13 ships. Still nothing. And what is the point, Admiral? Cross set down his mug. The point, Emperor, is that we've been watching your empire for 40 years. We've watched how you handle first contact. We've read the Velhari Accords, the ones you rewrote after you bombed Velhar Prime. We've studied what happened to the Drenosi, the Keth Collective, the Miran Shoals. He paused. We are not the Drenosi. No, Kale agreed. They had a fleet of 600. You have 13. We also have this. Cross touched something off-screen. On every Imperial ship in the fleet, simultaneously, every tactical display, every sensor array, every navigation system received a single data packet. It took less than a second to transmit. It contained no weapon. No virus. No code. Just schematics. Grand Admiral Voss went pale, all 4 of his arms dropping to his sides as he stared at his screen. He'd spent 30 years in Imperial service. He recognized what he was looking at. Your Magnificence, he said, very quietly. Those are graviton collapse charges, Cross said, as if he'd heard. Perhaps he had. 12 of them. Positioned at the gravitational stress points of this star system. You destroyed the Keth Collective with 3. We built 12. He let that settle. If your fleet crosses the boundary we've established, my captains have standing orders. We won't win the battle. We know that. But this entire system, your fleet, our ships, everything within 4 light hours, becomes a debris field. The throne room was silent. Kale stared at the human on his screen. The unremarkable grandfather face. The cold coffee mug. The absolute, terrifying stillness of a man who had already made peace with every possible outcome. You're bluffing, Kale said. Emperor, Cross said, humans have a saying. It's old, from before we had electricity, before we had steel, before we had anything but rocks and fire in each other. The saying is, make it expensive enough, and they'll go somewhere else. He picked up his mug again. We can't stop your empire. We know that. You're bigger, older, stronger, and you have 1,000 years of warfare we haven't matched yet. He met Kale's eyes through the screen. But we can make entering Terran space the single most costly military action in Imperial history. And we will. Every time. Without hesitation. Without negotiation. Until you run out of ships, or we run out of humans, and Emperor, I want you to understand something. He leaned slightly forward. We have never run out of humans. The Imperial fleet held position for 6 hours. Then, silently, without broadcast or declaration, the dreadnoughts began to fold back into quantum transit, one by one, then in groups, until the sensors of the Resolute showed nothing but empty space and stars. Chen let out a breath she'd been holding for what felt like a geological era. Around the bridge, consoles beeped, crew members exhaled, someone in the back made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Cross watched the last Imperial signature vanish from the display. He finished his coffee. Lieutenant Chen, he said, log the encounter. Terran territorial boundary held. No shots fired. He set the mug down. And someone make a fresh pot. It's going to be a long watch. Outside, the stars were silent again. But this time, the silence felt different. It felt like respect. Somewhere in the Imperial archive, a single notation was added to the Terran Confederation's intelligence file. It was brief, clinical, and would be flagged for every Imperial commander for the next 200 years. Status update: Terran Territory, do not engage. Designation revised. Previous, pre-contact. Primitive. Non-threat. Current, restricted. Extreme caution advised. Incident reference, Proxima standoff, stardate 2847.11. Notes: Terrans do not retreat. Do not bluff. Do not negotiate under duress. Recommendation: avoid Terran space entirely until further strategic review. The review was never completed. Nobody volunteered to go back and check.